Vaughn Grissom is officially back with the Atlanta Braves on the Major League roster. Will we see Jordan Lawlar play in the majors for the Arizona Diamondbacks this season? Join us today where we provide you with the best mustache prospects for September on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Sports Network, your team every day. As always, we are your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. You can find me on Twitter at DomMartinoFB. Here, as always, with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew Ane, and you could find him on Twitter at Matthew_Ane. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you do those two things for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes you to the channel, also gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly, please subscribe to us on the Subtext website. Subtext is a one-on-one, in-depth, personalized texting experience. And this time of year, you don't want to, fade out with baseball and everyone's tuning into football. It's actually the chance for you to get an upper hand, and joining us on Subtext is one of those ways to do that. And Locked On Fantasy Baseball fans, today we have a fully loaded episode for you. As always, let us be your team secret weapon as we provide you with the best prospects to stash that might get a cup of coffee this September. And actually, first up, we have a guy that actually just did get the call, one of our boys. Matt, why don't you take it home with him?
All right, let's talk about Mr. Vaughn Grissom, obviously one of our favorites here on the podcast. If you were here during the offseason, we love us some Vaughn Grissom. Vaughn Grissom unfortunately got sent down because he plays terrible defense, but hopefully that's improved because his bat is still fantastic. In the minors this year, he has 346 at bats, 65 runs, 32 doubles, 4 triples, 6 home runs, 50 ribbies, 11 stolen bases, and he's batting a nice 327. His bat has never been the problem because even in his short stint this year, he had 65 at bats, 5 runs, 2 doubles, no bombs yet, 7 ribs, and he was batting 277. Quite honestly, Vaughn Grissom to me is a must add. There is a caveat, though, that they're talking about Nicky Lopez floating in and out of that lineup and platooning him, unfortunately. So with that being said, Vaughn Grissom, in my opinion, still should be added everywhere because his bat is going to force him into the lineup. Let's just hope he doesn't do, a Reese Hoskins over at second base there, where it's just atrocious defense. And unfortunately, they have somebody to replace Vaughn Grissom, unlike the Phillies that did not. So let's go. Must add Vaughn Grissom.
Yeah, Matt, great take with Vaughn Grissom at 15% owned and second in short eligibility on Yahoo. I think you definitely got to look his way for at least the next week. You made a great point there. Nicky Lopez has been on fire doing those, Royals type things from last year where he's, getting those steals, hitting for batting average. And I just feel like the Braves are going to brave with, Vaughn Grissom. I don't know why they don't love him the way that we do. I guess it's that glove. But you know what? The bat has a lot of upside for Grissom, tiny bit of power. Decent speed, and then hitting in that Braves lineup, obviously a lot of room for runs and RBIs. So with Vaughn Grissom, I think you definitely got to at least give him that speculative ad and see where things go over the next week and see what the update on Ozzie Albies is, because I think when Ozzie Albies comes back, we're not going to see much of Lopez or Vaughn Grissom. I was getting excited to talk about this next guy. I almost said his name, but, let's get on with it. Let's talk about my boy Colt Keith, the big 6'2" lefty, 211 pounds. For the Detroit Tigers, Colt Keith has been awesome this year in the minors. So far this year, 92 games, 373 at-bats, 62 runs, 26 doubles, 3 triples, 19 homers, 75 RBIs, 3 steals, 308 batting average for Colt Keith. His worst batting average down in the minors was 286, and that was as a 19-year-old in 2021. Last 3 years in the minors, including this year, he's hit over 300. He's got great pop. He's got that tiny little bit of speed. I think the only thing that's going to be holding Colt Keith back is the lineup around him in Detroit, which we all know is not very good. So you know what? I think Detroit has to give him that cup of coffee in September. They really don't have much else going on there. Why not just call the kid up, let him play with Kerry Carpenter and see what you got in these young kids.
Yeah, absolutely. Love me some Colt Keith. That rotation actually has so much potential to be filthy in a couple of years. We shall see.
They do.
Once one or two people return, I am just super excited for the Detroit Tigers. And all honesty, but it is what it is. But let's move on here. Let's talk about the longest name on this podcast today, Pete Crow Armstrong. My guy is awesome. 5'11", 184 pounds, just doing his thing. This year in the minors between AA and AAA, my guy has 338 at bats, 79 runs, 22 doubles, 5 triples, 17 bombs, 65 ribs, 30 stolen bases, and batting a really nice 287. It's the second year in a row he put up over 30 stolen bases. The season isn't over, so who knows where the sky's the limit for this category for him. I think Pete Crow Armstrong is going to be what an impact on that lineup. Quite honestly, I love him. He is definitely getting the call up in September. There's no way around it. He's literally willing himself into the lineup. I am so excited to see what this kid's going to do. I mean, man, there is nobody else I really want to see come in this September except for him. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think Mr. Pete Crow Armstrong, or PCA for short, is what they call him, has a lot of upside, as I mentioned, in the speed category, batting average category. The Cubs have been sneaky good this year, so runs and RBIs shouldn't be a problem for either. He's even got some decent power. This guy potentially has a little bit of 5-tool, upside in that lineup with Horner, Bellinger, Swanson, Morel, Suzuki. Even Tauchman's been playing good of late. Former Yankee, shout out to Mike Tauchman. I just think the sky is the limit for, Pete Crow Armstrong. I really would love to see him get the call, as Matt mentioned, and I think he does as well. So, just definitely keep your eyes on PCA. I think there's a lot of upside there. If you guys have September call-up, you definitely want to make sure you get him on your roster. This is what this episode is kind of about, just going through these young prospects, making sure you're familiar with the name, so when they get the call, they're like, oh, I never heard of that guy. He's no good. Now you have heard of a lot of these guys, so they do have some upside, so you're definitely going to want to make sure you familiarize yourself, throw these guys on your watch list now. If not, if you got, a little extra spot, you could add whichever one you think is the best fit for your team as far as what they do. But guys, before we move on here and talk about, we got a couple of, more Baltimore Orioles prospects, because, why not? We have Jordan Lawlar coming up, who I talked about at the top of the episode. He's just, one of those guys that if he gets the call, definitely going to be good for you. And, the Diamondbacks as well. And then we got a couple of guys we've talked about on this podcast and a couple of guys we haven't. But up first, I have to talk to you about our new sponsor. It's the social media app Bunches. Locked On Fantasy Baseball fans, this new Bunches app is something that I really want to talk to you guys about. Bunches is a new app built for just sports fans where you can chat sports in real time. Click on the link in the show notes or description to join the app today. Or you could even just go to the Apple Store and download Bunches if you prefer to do it that way. I'm telling you guys, you're going to love the conversations with other Locked On sports fans on Bunches. Download the Bunches app today. When you do, our friends on Bunches have already, featured the new Locked On MLB section in the Bunches app. You just go to the Discovers tab. It's really easy to find it. And then you could also click on the link, and once again, in the description or the show notes, to join the Locked On MLB Bunch community today. And guys, Matt and I have just got on there on Bunches. We've been interacting, trying to see how the feel of it is. We absolutely love it so far. And it's just a great way to, interact with other sports fans through a social media app that is just made specifically for us. So, as I said, download Bunches today. And dear everydayers and new listeners, we have an incredible opportunity for you to support the show and enjoy some fantastic perks along the way. Introducing our Diamond Club on the Subtext website. By becoming a member, you not only contribute to the show's success, but also gain exclusive access to benefits. Get your hands on waiver wire rankings, call-up alerts, injury updates, instant reactions, and enjoy direct access to us for all of your burning fantasy baseball questions. Plus, you can try it out completely free for 14 days. Your support means the world to Matt and I, and we can't wait to connect with you on this exciting journey. Join our Diamond Club on the Subtext website today, and let's take your fantasy baseball experience to new heights. And guys, I've been saying it. I'll continue to say it. If you are already subscribed to us on Subtext in the Diamond Club, or if you join the Diamond Club on Subtext between now and September 1st, you get that chance to join that raffle for our listener league from next year. Come play with the pros, show Matt and I what you got. You come try and take us out. And it's just a really another fun way to interact with you guys, get to know you guys a little bit better, and you can compete against each other in fantasy baseball. That's what we're all here for. That's what we all love to do. But all right, Matt, we know we got a couple of more Baltimore baseball guys, and which one do we got first, brother?
All right, hold on. Let me go. I think I got a good one. And it's the Jolly Orange Giant here, Coby Mayo.
That.
Because Baltimore Orioles are orange, so instead of the Jolly Green Giant, Jolly Orange Giant here. 6'5", 230 pounds. This dude is an absolute unit. Okay, and he's showing it off this year in 2023 so far. 375 at bats, 57 runs, 38 doubles, 3 triples, 20 bombs, 65 ribs, 4 stolen bases, and batting a really nice 283. My guy had a really nice 2022. Real quick, he had 20 doubles, 2 triples, 19 bombs, 69 ribs, and he batted 247. Batting average really wasn't great, but he had 1, 2, 3 promotions last year, all the way from rookie to Double-A. Even in 2021, my guy did his thing. He had 9 home runs and 216 at bats, and batted 319. My guy had a Double-A and Triple-A promotion this year. Mayo is an absolute unit. This dude could be an instant fantasy darling if he gets the call up in September. I'm not sure if he does. They have like 65 guys all ready to come up, and there's not enough, spots on the roster. So we'll see what they do with Mayo. But if Mayo comes up, he is one of the must-add guys. Man, it's going to be really hard to really rank these guys for the Diamond Club because there's just so many favorites here. I talked about Pete Armstrong, and then you talk about Coby Mayo. God, this is just fantasy, drool is coming out of my mouth right now. That's Coby Mayo.
Yeah, Matt. I think you need to clean yourself up a little bit after that one.
Yeah, let me go get.
I agree though. We're on the same page there with Coby Mayo. A lot of upside, especially in the power department. And I think over the next couple of years, he's going to find himself in the middle of that Baltimore lineup, absolutely raking. There's a couple of spots I could see them maybe moving on from O'Hearn at some point, and Adam Frazier's getting a little bit up there, and they can maybe move and shift guys around and see where things work out. I could see Mayo coming up with our next guy here, and coming up potentially pretty close together, just to give a little bit more salt on top of that Baltimore lineup, like they need it or something. They truly don't, but you know what? You add those guys in there, and it just takes that lineup to another level. So great take on Mayo, and I'll move on to the next guy. It's Heston Kjerstad. Another, big baseball boy in Baltimore, 6'3", 205-pound lefty. And I feel like we've talked about a lot of lefties on today's episode for whatever reason. I guess these lefties are coming about, but it's like Baltimore just grows these guys on trees between Westberg, Hauser, Rutschman, Grayson Rodriguez coming back to the bigs and looking like, that number one prospect. But we're here to talk about, Heston Kjerstad. Heston Kjerstad this year through 98 games, 383 at-bats, 73 runs, 26 doubles, 6 triples, 19 homers, 46 RBIs, 4 steals, 319 batting average. Plate discipline's looking decent with 31 walks to 76 strikeouts. And Kjerstad has never hit lower than 309 in the minors, so this kid looks like he can come up and instantly hold his own against major league hitting. There's some power upside, a little bit of speed there, too, with the 6 triples and 4 steals, bigger bases in the majors. Like then Baltimore, letting their guys run a little bit. Cedric Mullins always running on those base paths. You add another guy up there that could potentially, not Mullins' level of speed, but, got some decent speed in there as well. I think with Kjerstad and Mayo in the, the pipeline, the Baltimore team is going to be a force to be reckoned with for the next few years here. But let's move on to this next guy, somebody that I'm actually pretty excited to talk about. And I don't know if we've talked about him on this show yet, but Mr. Jordan Lawlar. Jordan Lawlar, I believe he just got moved up to AAA, and I was surprised when I heard that. The kid, I believe, is only 21 years old at the moment. He was the 6th overall pick in the 2021 draft. So this kid is moving through that minor league system pretty quickly. On the year, Jordan Lawlar, 89 games played, 350 at-bats, 77 runs, 23 doubles, 3 triples, 15 homers, 48 RBIs, 33 steals, 47 walks to 89 strikeouts, which isn't bad, 263 batting average for Lawlar. Now, he's the one out of everybody we're going to talk about. I don't know if he gets that call to the big leagues this year. As I mentioned, he's 6'1". He's 190. He's got to put a little bit more muscle on that frame. Start hitting a little bit more, hitting for a little bit more power. Even though 15 homers through 350 at bats is actually really solid. I think there's a lot of upside for this kid. I think he could potentially in his prime be a 30-30 type guy, maybe 275, 280 hitter. And that Diamondbacks lineup is getting better, like the Orioles lineup is as well. Lot of upside for Lawlar. Definitely a name you're going to want to keep your eye on, especially going into next year.
Yeah, for sure. I like Lawlar, but my problem is, quite honestly, his batting average and the fact that he didn't even get a promotion to AAA this year, which is an
he did. He just got the call like yesterday or 2 days ago to AAA.
Okay,
I don't know if he's played a game there yet, but
I didn't see that. I apologize.
Yeah, no,
but
you're good.
Even more indicative of my point, he just got the promotion to AAA, which tells you they're probably not going to option him into the bigs. The fact that he's only hitting about 263 when across, the 4 teams last year before he got to AA, he was hitting 303 on the total season, even with the AA where he was hitting 212. I think he's just somebody that takes a little bit more time to adjust. So Lawlar, I think that they're going to want to see him hitting AAA before they even give him the call. He's probably going to be like an early next year kind of prospect for me. That's when I'm throwing out my prediction for him getting the call to the bigs. But let's move on here. I think we spent enough time on Lawlar and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Let's talk about Mr. Kyle Manzardo. Kyle is great. He got the got traded over to the Cleveland Guardians. 6 foot, 205 pounds. I'm surprised he hasn't gotten the call already, but I know it was kind of a down year this year. So, I get it. My guy has 265 at bats, 33 runs, 19 doubles, a triple, 11 home runs, 38 ribs, and he's batting 238 on the season in AAA. I could see why they haven't, but it was a really nice project for them. But the Cleveland Guardians need a little juice in that lineup, in my opinion. Need to put some people around Ramirez. So I'm really surprised he hasn't gotten the call already, especially after what they gave up to get him. So I think Kyle Manzardo should be getting the call in September. And we're going to start seeing some things rock and roll. And he's going to be, if he does get the call, somebody I might do as a speculative ad. His upside is wonderful, but I want to see him do it because, he was really struggling this year in AAA, whereas this is the first time he really got a shot at AAA. So, it may take him a little bit of time to adjust. He might be a next year deep play, late round pick that I'm going to like a lot, and that's Kyle Manzardo.
Yeah, I like Manzardo. I'm just not sure what's up with the down year this year. He hit for pretty much his whole minor league career, and even in college, kid always hit for average, and he's all the way down, as Matt mentioned, to 238 this year. The plate discipline still looks really good with 42 walks to 65 strikeouts for Manzardo. Power's a little bit down from last year. The general production is just down from last year, and I don't see anything standing out to really explain why. Cleveland's pretty much out of it this year, so it always goes one or two ways. Either a team that's really out of it will start calling up some young guys to see what they have, or teams that need that little bit of extra push to make the playoffs will start calling up their young guys. I don't know what Cleveland has planned here. Cole Calhoun has been playing first base at 36 years old. Cole Calhoun is, I hate to say it at this point, but pretty much washed up. So, there is that spot for him, waiting in the wings at first base. I don't know how much he's going to translate once he gets to the big leagues right away because, as Matt and I both said this year, his numbers are a little bit down. So I just truly don't know what to do here. He's probably more towards the bottom of this tier, in my opinion, of guys I would want to pick up once they get the call. But before we move on and we finish up here, we talk about a Cardinals prospect that's, great defensively and pretty solid offensively. We got a couple of starting pitchers, one from the Giants and one from the Cubs. Matt's got a quick sponsor for you guys.
Yeah, for championship teams, it's all about making sure every player is the perfect fit. And it's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Motors, guaranteed fit, you can be sure every part fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check to know that the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game. And when you shop eBay Motors, it's the same. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home the win when you got the right parts and they're guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions may apply. All right. And with that being said, we're going to move on here. Sorry, I'm writing down times. So let's talk about a guy here. Let's talk about Mr. Masyn Winn. Masyn Winn, pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals here. 5'11", 180 pounds, 21 years.
Shortstop, second baseman.
Oh my God.
You're good, brother. You're good.
So shortstop and second base eligibility here. 5'11", 180 pounds. This is why we normally hand off after we do ads. But anyway, my guy is having a decent season here. 433 at bats, 95 runs, 15 doubles, 6 triples, 17 home runs, 59 ribs, 17 stolen bases, and batting a nice 284. I really do like this kid. I mean, I would love to see what he's going to look like when he finally gets the call up. It's very interesting. He knows how to get on base, knows how to get in scoring position. If they can get rocking and rolling on that team with Arenado, Goldie, Jordan Walker, I feel Winn can be a really nice addition to this team. We'll see what with life actually brings for us in this aspect. Masyn Winn could be a nice impact player for that team in terms of fantasy baseball. I like the stolen base upside. I like the average upside, but he's probably going to be like a 2020 guy in my opinion.
Yeah, Matt, solid take on Masyn Winn. I just feel like it's a win-win situation if they get Masyn Winn up there in the bigs. There's not really a great spot for him to play. They've been having like Alec Burleson DH, and I think that's a spot where you could, move some guys around and find, Winn into that lineup. Matt, you read off the stats there, and he's really got a lot of upside both in the power and speed department. You always really don't see guys that, are like 5'11", 180 hit for the kind of power that he's hitting for. As you mentioned, through 102 games, 433 at-bats, he's already up to 17 home runs. And he's had some really big stolen base seasons there in the minors. He stole 43 bags in 119 games in 2022. He stole 32 bags in 98 games in 2021. So the speed upside is definitely there. And as you mentioned, he had 6 triples this year, 8 triples in 2022, 5 triples in 2021. The speed's there for Winn. And he also has a great glove. If you haven't seen some Masyn Winn highlights from the shortstop position, go Google them, actually YouTube them. And absolutely very, very good glove for Winn. So once he gets there, I think he's going to be a staple in that lineup. Actually, probably we have such good names on this list. So I don't want to say, one of my favorites, again, but, just a lot of good influx of talent coming up to the majors within the next couple of years. And Masyn Winn fits right in with everybody that we've talked about. Let's move on to this next guy who's kind of been struggling this year. And, I'm a little upset about it because I really like this guy. It's Kyle Harrison for the Giants. Starting pitcher, 6'2", 200 pounds. Somehow another lefty here. I just feel like, where are all these lefties coming from? But, Harrison was one of the top pitching prospects in all of baseball coming into the year. I believe MLB just redid their top 100 prospects, and I believe he was still pretty high as far as starting pitchers go. But a down year for, Kyle Harrison. 4.38 ERA, 63 innings, 102 strikeouts. So the strikeout upside is, still there. But in a 1.47 whip, I don't know what kind of wheel fell off for him this year. But, before that, last year, Kyle Harrison had a monster year, 2.71 ERA, 113 innings, 186 strikeouts, and a 1.13 whip. So that is Kyle Harrison's upside. I don't know. I don't know if we see him in the bigs this year because, the Giants are another team that are kind of like, they're in the mix, they're over 500, but I don't know if, the Giants are going to want to call him up, especially how bad he's been this year. AAA has just really been a struggle for him in general. So I don't really know where he fits into their plans. So it's kind of more of a wait and see with Kyle Harrison. Definitely a name that you want to keep in mind. So at least you familiarize yourself with him. If he does get the call and he goes out there and he strings together a couple of good starts, you could have some confidence in adding Harrison now that hit the upside with him. And that's all really I got on Harrison. Kind of just been a disappointing down year for the kid.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on the other show with prospects and pitching prospects specifically, where they have them trying different things. You get to a new pitching coach, they don't like something, they want to tinker with it a little bit. Kyle Harrison can just be experimenting with something new. And then he might get the call and then come up and be his normal self. Maybe they're trying out a new pitch because it's not just, hey, for batters, hey, go out there, swing a bat and get really good at defense. With pitching, there's a lot more to go into it. Pitching is a chess match at the end of the day. And speaking of chess matches and pitchers that kind of got it, and that's Mr. Cade Horton. Cade has been great this year. I love it. And performing very well and at the perfect spot to get called up. He's right now in AA. He has about 8 innings pitched, and he's pitching great. Those 8 innings. But quite honestly, I'm just joking around here about the 8 innings. But I mean, he's had a really great season in the minors, and this is kind of where it's on track for him to get called up. And it's 69 innings pitched. He has 94 Ks. He has an ERA of 3.12, and he has a sub-1 whip. Like, these are all numbers you want to see from a guy that just got the call to AA. Now, usually what happens is they usually get a little bit more, about like 20, maybe 25 innings pitched before you start seeing a pitcher like this get called up once they've gotten into the AA aspect of it. So there is a shot he gets the call, but who knows what they want to do in Chicago. Maybe they want to hold off. But we'll see. I mean, they are making a playoff push, so this is where maybe they want to roll him out depending on how well he's doing in AA. Cade Horton could be an instant explosion for your roster. I love his upside. We shall see what happens with him. That's Cade Horton for you.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Cade Horton. He's been running through that minor league system, man. He was the 7th pick in the 2022 draft. So as I said, it wasn't even that long ago for him to, already be up in AA, looking solid. Matt read you off those numbers. They look fantastic. It's just a matter of what the Cubs want to do. They could definitely use another starting pitcher in that rotation behind Steele and Taillon, who's been hot lately. Kyle Hendricks is almost 34. Javier Assad just came up and he's looked okay, but I'm not relying on him or Hendricks come playoff time. So if you get yourself a Cade Horton out there and he just he looks good, I don't see why not. Only thing that might be holding him back is his first really year in that minor league system with 70 innings. How far do you want to push that for a kid that's 21 years old? So as Matt and I just said, let's see what the Cubs do. But Cade Horton is definitely a name that you want to keep on your radar coming into this, September, where we're going to see a lot of prospects get called up and, all those kinds of things. But that's pretty much about it for us today. Matt, anything else you want to chime in? We got a little extra time here if you want to pop off on anything.
No, I think that's pretty much it. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, guys, we're going to have a couple of surprise episodes for you because, we can't do our normal trades episode. And then, on Friday, we're going to, come at you with whatever we see fit. So it's going to be a surprise, but, they're definitely it's going to be quality content. So you're going to want to make sure you lock on for, our episodes this weekend. But guys, that is all for us today. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review. And, shout out to our everydayers and new listeners for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. We truly appreciate you guys. Wouldn't be where we are today without you. And as I said, look out for that new episode tomorrow. But guys, until then, see you.
Peace.